The thick fog clung to the narrow streets of Ravenshade like a shroud, muffling the distant hoot of an owl. The mystery machine's headlights barely cut through the mist as the gang rolled into town, its neon sign flickering weakly against the gloom. The air smelled of damp wood and something else, something stale, like a memory too old to recall. Velma pushed her glasses up her nose and studied the map on her lap. "This is it," she announced. "The Ravenshade Broadcasting Station. It's been abandoned since 1974, right after the infamous Lost episode aired." Daphne flipped through her notes. Every crew member involved disappeared. No bodies, no leads, nothing. Just gone. Shaggy shivered and pulled Scooby closer. "Like, remind me again why we're looking for a haunted tape? Wouldn't a nice, normal treasure hunt be better?" The station loomed ahead, a hulking relic from another era. Its once pristine sign was now barely legible beneath decades of grime. Fred pulled the van to a stop, and the gang stepped out, their footsteps crunching on the overgrown pavement. The doors were ajar, swinging slightly in the wind. "Someone's been here recently," Fred noted, running a hand over the dust-free handle. Velma adjusted her flashlight and stepped forward, her breath visible in the cold night air. "If the tape is still here, we have to find it." With a collective deep breath, they pushed inside. The interior was a graveyard of forgotten technology. Old cameras lay toppled, film reels scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. The air was thick with dust and the scent of rotting paper. Shaggy coughed. "Like, this place could use a serious spring cleaning." But something wasn't right. Scooby whined, his ears perking up as he sniffed the air. There was a hum, a low, crackling noise coming from the end of the hall. Daphne motioned for them to follow as they crept toward the control room. The door creaked open, revealing a room frozen in time. An old television monitor sat in the center, its screen flickering with static. A single VHS tape rested on the console, unmarked except for a handwritten note beside it. "Don't watch it." Fred picked up the tape, turning it over in his hands. "This has to be it." Velma hesitated before pressing a few buttons on the control panel. The static shifted, forming a distorted image. A young woman stood in the center of the screen, her wide eyes locked onto the camera. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The footage stuttered, her form jerking unnaturally, like a puppet caught in invisible strings. Then the screen went black. "Jinkies," Velma whispered. That wasn't a recording glitch. That was something else. Daphne reached for the note, her fingers trembling slightly. "Someone tried to warn us, but why leave the tape here?" A loud clunk echoed through the hallway, making them all jump. Shaggy grabbed Scooby in a panic. "And dash end up. I vote we leave." But before they could move, the television turned itself back on. The screen remained dark, but the sound of breathing filled the room slow, deliberate, as if someone was standing right behind them. Fred turned sharply, shining his flashlight into the empty corridor. "Nothing. We need to go. Now." Velma grabbed the tape, and the gang sprinted back toward the exit, the sensation of unseen eyes following their every step. Just as they reached the door, a voice crackled over the long-dead speakers. "You shouldn't have taken it." Shaggy let out a strangled yelp as they piled into the mystery machine. Fred floored the gas pedal, the tires screeching against the wet pavement. As they sped away, Daphne risked one last glance through the rear window. The station stood silent and still, swallowed by the fog. But in one of the upper windows, a shadow remained a lone figure watching as they disappeared into the night. The tape sat between them, pulsing with an unspoken dread. Whatever mystery they had uncovered, it wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The mystery machine rumbled down the winding road, the eerie glow of the dashboard lights illuminating the gang's tense faces. The VHS tape sat untouched on the seat between them, wrapped hastily in Daphne's scarf as if concealing it could dampen the unsettling energy it exuded. Velma sat stiffly, clutching her notebook, her mind racing through historical cases of cursed objects and unsolved disappearances. Fred kept his eyes locked on the road, but the white-knuckle grip on the steering wheel betrayed his unease. Okay, so, we agree that we are totally not watching that thing, right? Shaggy said, his voice higher than usual. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know that watching cursed tapes is how you end up, vanishing into another dimension or something. Scooby nodded rapidly, his tail tucked between his legs. Right. No watching. Daphne exchanged a glance with Velma. We don't even know if it's cursed. It could just be an old episode, right? A lost piece of television history? Her words were confident, but the slight tremor in her hands told another story. Fred exhaled, turning onto a dirt road leading to an old lodge on the outskirts of town. We need a safe place to examine it. If we try to play it at a public library or somewhere too exposed, we risk drawing attention. The Ravenshade Inn emerged from the mist, its once grand facade now weathered and sagging. The vacancy sign buzzed weakly, half its letters dead. The gang checked in under false names, a precaution they had learned after years of meddling. Their room was small, but adequate. A single TV resting atop a dusty dresser. The tape sat in the center of the table like a forbidden relic. Velma pulled out a pair of latex gloves before picking it up. There's no label, no production markings, nothing. If this really aired in 1974, it should at least have some identifying marks. Daphne's fingers hovered over the play button. Maybe we should just watch the first few seconds? Just enough to see if it's actually an episode? Fred hesitated before nodding. All right. But the second anything seems off, we shut it down. Velma slid the tape into the player, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, the screen flickered to life. A black and white frame appeared, shaky, as if the camera had been handheld. The image was of a dimly lit stage. A woman stood in the center, wearing a dress too long for her frame. Her face was obscured by shadow. Then she moved jerky, unnatural, like a marionette with invisible strings. Her lips parted, but the only sound that came from the speakers was static. The camera tilted suddenly, and behind her, a row of audience members became visible, sitting in perfect stillness. Too still. Their faces were blurred, smudged out like someone had erased them from existence. Shaggy lunged for the stop button. Nope, nope. That is way too off. The screen went black, but the TV did not turn off. The static remained, growing louder. The speakers crackled, and a whisper seeped through. Why did you take it? Fred grabbed the remote, yanking the power cord from the wall. The room plunged into silence. The gang sat frozen, the air thick with dread. Then, a knock came from the hotel door. 3 sharp taps, slow, deliberate. No one moved. Then, another knock. Shaggy whimpered. Maybe it's room service? Velma shook her head, barely breathing. No one knew we were coming here. The doorknob turned slightly, rattling. Whoever or whatever was outside knew exactly where they were, and it wasn't leaving anytime soon.